Welcome to the Kendra Woods Show. I'm Kendra Woods, and this is a space for high-achieving women navigating success, self-doubt, and the pressure that often lives beneath it. On this show, we explore the hidden patterns that shape how you lead your life, make decisions, and relate to success. Because success isn't just what you build, it's how you lead yourself. And here, we learn to lead ourselves well. Welcome to the Kendra Woods Show. This is a space where we talk about the inner world of high-achieving women, the part that rarely gets spoken out loud, the thoughts behind the success, the pressure behind the leadership, the quiet questions that happen in the mind of a woman who, from the outside, looks like she has everything together. Because here's something I've noticed after working with hundreds of women over the years. Some of the most capable women in the room are also the ones secretly questioning themselves the most. And it's not because they're unqualified. It's not because they're inexperienced, but because intelligence, self-awareness, and ambition create a very particular internal dynamic. And if no one names it, you start to believe you're the only one experiencing it. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about something I consider to be a hidden epidemic among high-achieving women: high-functioning self-doubt. We're going to talk about why it happens, and why it happens specifically to intelligent women. And also why so many successful women still quietly question themselves even after they've already proven that they're capable. One of the things that fascinates me is patterns. I notice them everywhere, in leadership, in business, in human behavior. And years ago, I started noticing something that kept repeating itself. I will be in rooms with incredibly intelligent women, women who are leading teams, running companies, managing families, building impressive careers. And yet, when they talk about their ideas, their work, or their next move, there was always often this subtle hesitation, this pause, this questioning. And it's not loud insecurity, but a quiet internal conversation that sounds something like this. Is this the right direction? Is this good enough? What if people don't respond to it? Maybe I need to think about this more. And what struck me was that the hesitation almost never came from a lack of capability. It came from too much thinking, too much awareness, too many possible angles being considered at once. And I realized this wasn't a confidence problem. This was something much more nuanced than that. I call this high functioning self-doubt. And it's different from what most people imagine when they think of insecurity. High-functioning self-doubt doesn't stop women from succeeding. They still perform, they still achieve, they still show up, and from the outside, everything looks impressive. But internally, there is a constant mental negotiation happening. So a woman might second guess a decision she already knows is a sound choice. She may reevaluate an idea multiple times before sharing it. She may overanalyze feedback or feel a subtle pressure to prove herself again, even after years of evidence shows that she's more than capable. So the success is there, but the internal experience of that success is much more complicated. And the reason this happens is actually quite interesting. because the very qualities that make a woman capable of high achievement are often the very same qualities that make her prone to overthinking. And this is where it gets good. So, highly intelligent women tend to have very active analytical minds. They see patterns, they can anticipate problems, they can imagine multiple outcomes simultaneously. And it's an incredible strength to have. But it also means their mind is constantly generating more information than necessary for a decision. Instead of seeing one path forward, they see five. Instead of one interpretation, they see 10 different interpretations. Instead of trusting the first instinct, they start evaluating all the possible scenarios. And so then suddenly, something that could have been a simple decision becomes a complex mental exercise. And the irony is that intelligence doesn't eliminate doubt. Sometimes it actually creates more room for it. Because when your mind can generate so many possibilities, it also becomes easier to imagine everything that could go wrong. So, intelligence without a deep and grounded level of self trust often becomes overthinking. And what does overthinking do? Overthinking over time slowly erodes confidence. Now, let's talk about the other piece of this. Why do women continue to question themselves even after they've already achieved success? You would think that success would solve the problem. They achieve, create success, and it's like, okay, problem solved. That once a woman had enough evidence of her capability, the self-doubt would disappear. But that's not usually how it works, because success changes the environment around you. The stakes get higher, visibility increases, more people have their eyes on you, watching your decisions. And the mind begins to interpret that pressure as, don't mess this up, right? So instead of moving freely, the brain starts trying to manage outcomes, trying to predict reactions, trying to prevent mistakes, which again leads to more thinking, leads to more evaluation, leads to more internal pressure. So paradoxically, success can actually intensify the mental noise for high achieving women. Again, not because they aren't capable, but because they care deeply about the impact of their decisions. After studying this pattern for years, I've come to a conclusion that I believe sits at the center of all of this. The issue is not intelligence, and it's not even ambition. It's self-trust. Many high-achieving women were trained to succeed through effort, responsibility, performance, pushing through. They learned how to deliver results. They learned how to push themselves. They learned how to think critically. But very few of them were taught how to trust their own internal authority. So even when they know what they know, they still look outside themselves for confirmation. More research, more opinions, more validation, which in and of itself creates a subtle dependency on external feedback. And it's that dependency that keeps the cycle of doubt alive within. Now, if you're listening to this episode and recognizing yourself in this pattern, I want you to hear something clearly. The presence of self-doubt does not mean you're unqualified. In many cases, it means you are highly aware. But awareness without trust creates friction. And what I've become deeply interested in, both in my work and in my own life, is helping women develop a different internal relationship with their own thinking. One where intelligence remains a strength, but it no longer becomes a trap. Where reflection and introspection is useful, but it doesn't become paralysis. Where leadership comes from internal stability instead of this constant evaluation. So here's the question that I want to leave you with today. Not how do I eliminate self-doubt? Because doubt is a part of being human. I think the better question is, do I trust myself enough to move forward even when doubt appears? That question changes everything, because leadership, real grounded leadership, isn't the absence of doubt. It is the ability to stay grounded in your own thinking, even when uncertainty is present. Is present. I didn't say that right. Even when uncertainty is present. And this is the work that fascinates me. It's the work that we're going to explore on this show, the inner mechanics of how intelligent women lead themselves. And it's going to be, I believe, that as we dive deeper into these conversations, you're going to, if you resonate with this, you're going to recognize yourself in these patterns. And it's going to give you language for the internal experience you've been having as a driven, high achieving woman. And when we have language, when we have an understanding, when we can have a clear understanding of the patterns that we're operating in, then you become empowered to actually interrupt the pattern. And when you can interrupt the pattern, transformation begins to happen, and you begin to relate to yourself in a different way. You begin to see yourself in a different way. And I also think you begin to not be so hard on yourself, because I think a lot of this leads to women being really critical of themselves, really judgmental of themselves. And I think it's simply because we aren't having these conversations enough about what happens or what's going on in the internal landscape of a woman who on the outside looks like she's just holding it all together and keeping it all together and doing all the things. So I want you to remember that leadership isn't the absence of doubt. It's the ability to stay grounded in your own thinking when doubt appears. Okay? So thank you so much for being here for the first episode of the Kendra Woods Show. If this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to share the episode with another woman who might recognize herself in this pattern. And if you're ready to move beyond the patterns of self-doubt and into self-leadership, I'd love to support you. You can start with my Soul CEO Ritual. It is your daily practice to realign your energy and lead yourself powerfully. The link will be in the show notes. And if you're someone who has built success but still finds herself navigating the internal complexities of leadership, you're exactly who this show is for. So until next time, lead yourself well.